I'm Ted, a movie editor. I once thought I had found true love, but I never thought I'd end up with betrayal. But that's life, isn't it? There are ups and downs, sweetness and pain. I remember the first time I met Lucy was in the editing room of an independent film project. She was a young and talented actress and I was an unknown editor. We came together because we shared the same dream of making a movie. It was a wonderful time. We used to talk late into the night after work, talking about our favorite movies and sharing each other's views on life. Love was born in these moments. Soon after we fell in love, we decided to get married. It was a simple and cozy wedding with only family and friends in attendance. Lucy gave up her acting career for me and chose to be a housewife. She always supported me in my work and created a stable background for me. Everything seemed so perfect, but life doesn't always go smoothly. As time went on, I began to feel something was wrong, and Lucy's behavior began to change. She was staying out late, sometimes all night. All this made me feel uneasy. I couldn't imagine that my dear wife would betray our love. However, the truth was finally and brutally in front of me. Our married life was good at first, but as time went on, I gradually realized that Lucy was beginning to be different. She seemed to be tired and bored of her present life. I clearly remembered that Lucy used to wear simple and comfortable household clothes, such as cotton t-shirts and loose sweatpants. She used to say that comfort was her primary criterion in choosing clothes. But now, she's starting to buy more revealing clothes. The tight tops and short skirts are a far cry from her old style. Once, she wore a miniskirt that barely covered her buttocks to a friend's birthday party. This would never have happened before. Not only her clothes, but Lucy's mannerisms have also changed. Once, we used to discuss our favorite movies together, from the plot to the filming techniques. We can always talk for hours. Lucy also often shared with me her understanding of acting and vision for the future. But now, she is no longer satisfied with discussing movies and art with me, but always brings up some luxury brands and gossip about the upper-class social circle. Once, I overheard her discussing a celebrity scandal with a friend on the phone, and the conversation went on for almost an hour. I was surprised to find that she had begun to have a higher pursuit of material life. Once, she even hinted to me that she wanted to buy a designer bag worth tens of thousands of dollars. I remember it was a Hermes Birkin bag. I checked the price on the internet. The cheapest are more than 50,000 US dollars. This is a heavy burden for our current financial situation. In addition, Lucy began to come home late more often, sometimes even overnight. At first, she always used the excuse that she was working overtime or partying with friends, but I could sense that it wasn't that simple. A few times, she came home smelling of alcohol. Her words were slurred, and she even fell asleep in the living room. I remember one weekend, I specially prepared a candlelight dinner for her, want to give her a surprise. But she didn't come home until late at night. I made countless phone calls and sent countless text messages, but she never responded. It wasn't until noon the next day that she came home drunk, with the smell of tobacco and perfume still lingering on her body. In the face of my questioning, she just said perfunctorily that she and her friends had drunk too much and slept at her friend's house for the night. I tried to communicate with her, but she was always perfunctory and unwilling to answer my questions positively. I have noticed that Lucy's drinking seems to be quietly increasing. In the past, she would only drink a glass of wine on social occasions, and a bottle of wine would last for a month. But now, she often drinks alone at home. By my count, we consume at least 5 to 6 bottles of red wine a week at home. This number really surprised me. Sometimes, when I get up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, I find her drinking alone in the living room with empty bottles on the table. When she saw me, she just smiled and said she couldn't sleep and wanted to have a drink to relax. I could feel that alcohol was slowly taking over her life. All these changes have left me confused and worried. I don't understand what made my dear wife become what she is now. We used to be so like-minded, sharing the same dreams and pursuits. But now, we seem to be drifting apart. I tried to save our marriage, working hard to provide a better life for Lucy. I bought her the designer bag she always wanted, hoping to make her happier. But it seemed that no matter what I did, I couldn't stop her from changing. The distance between us is widening little by little. I began to doubt whether our marriage could still go on. I didn't want to believe that two people who once loved each other so much would end up in this situation. But the reality is right in front of me. I can't escape it. I can only hope that one day, Lucy will be able to find her old self again and our marriage will be back on track. But deep down, I know that this may only be a good wish. The cracks in a marriage, once they appear, are very difficult to repair. I'm afraid that we're going to end up falling apart. Just when I thought our marriage had come to an end, Lucy suddenly told me that she was planning to return to acting. To be honest, I was a bit surprised. After all, she had been out of the business for several years. But at the same time, I could understand her desire. Acting has always been her dream, and she gave it up for me. Now, she probably wants to pursue her life's goal again. Lucy told me that she had learned that a director named David was holding auditions for a new movie. I had heard a lot about David. He had a bad reputation in the industry, and there were always bad rumors surrounding him. I've heard that he often uses auditions as an excuse to make passes at young actresses. One actress once publicly accused him of trying to molest her during an audition, but it never came to an end. I had some concerns about Lucy's participation in the audition. On the one hand, I was worried that David might do something inappropriate to Lucy. On the other hand, I was also worried that returning to acting might make Lucy lose herself again. After all, I have always felt that the change in her personality and behavior had nothing to do with that circle. But I knew that stopping Lucy would only make our relationship worse. There was already a rift in our marriage, and I didn't want it to widen. Maybe supporting her to pursue her dream can fix our problems? With this in mind, I finally chose to support her in the audition. Lucy was obviously delighted with my support. She gave me a big hug and said I was the best husband in the world. In preparation for the audition, she spent a long time choosing clothes and doing her makeup. I could tell it meant a lot to her. She seemed to have rediscovered her passion and purpose in life. On the day of the audition, Lucy wore a sexy little black dress and sophisticated makeup. She looked radiant, not at all like someone who had been through a marital crisis. I drove her to the audition location and gave her a kiss when she got out of the car to wish her luck. However, when she came home in the evening, I felt something was wrong. She seemed preoccupied and didn't say much about the audition. I pressed her a few times, but all she said was that the director was still thinking about it and asked her to wait for more information. For the next few days, Lucy's cell phone was ringing nonstop. I accidentally glanced at her screen and realized that most of the messages were from director David. I didn't know what they were discussing, but from the smile on Lucy's face, I could tell that their relationship seemed to be much more than just director and actor. One night, Lucy said she had a meeting with the crew to discuss the script and would be back late. I hesitated, or said, "Be careful." She just nodded perfunctorily and hurried out. However, she didn't come home until 3 a.m., with a lingering odor of men's perfume. I felt a moment of heartbreak, but still choose to believe her. I consoled myself, maybe it's just work, don't think too much. The following weekend, I stumbled upon a hotel room card in Lucy's bag. My heart instantly turned cold. I asked her what it was all about, and she stammered that she might have accidentally picked up someone else's room card at a party with the crew. But I always feel that things are not that simple. Despite my misgivings and insecurities, I chose to continue to support Lucy, not wanting to jeopardize her chances of returning to acting because of my own misgivings. I hoped that I was just being paranoid and that Lucy would not betray our marriage. But deep inside, a voice tells me that maybe I'm just fooling myself and others. After Lucy returned to acting, I noticed that her behavior became more and more unusual. She started to go out early and stay out late, sometimes even staying out all night. Whenever I asked, she would always excuse herself by saying she was busy with work. But I could sense that it wasn't that simple. Once, when I was packing Lucy's clothes, a note fell out of her pocket. I picked it up and saw that it had a hotel name and room number written on it. My heart was instantly cold. I asked Lucy what was going on, and she panicked, explaining that it was probably a place arranged by the crew and that she had misremembered the room number. But I always felt she was lying. I began to secretly observe Lucy's every move. I noticed that every time she said she had to work overtime or had a meeting with the crew, she wore especially delicate clothes and wore heavier makeup than usual. I remember one time, she wore a red backless dress, saying she was going to a movie promotion. But when I searched the internet, I found that there was no report about the movie promotion. Lucy's cell phone has become mysterious. In the past, she never set a password on her cell phone, and we could use each other's cell phones at will. But now, her cell phone not only set a password, but also received some suspicious text messages from time to time. Once, when she was taking a shower, her cell phone rang. I glanced at the screen and found that it was a message from director David, which read, "Honey, I miss you. See you tonight." Seeing this text message, my heart broke. I began to wonder if Lucy was really concentrating on the movie, or if she had developed some kind of illicit relationship with David. I decided to find an opportunity to go to the movie set to see for myself. I pretended to bring Lucy a change of clothes, but in fact I wanted to observe her behavior on the set. On the set, I saw Lucy and David discussing the script together. At first, everything seemed normal, but during a short break, I overheard them chatting in a corner. They were standing very close to each other, and David's hand seemed to be caressing Lucy's back. My heart stuttered at the sight. Over the next few days, I began to follow Lucy's movements. I found that she didn't always go straight home, but often went to a hotel after work. Through talking to the hotel staff, I learned that Lucy often went in and out of the hotel with a middle-aged man, and the man's features matched very well with director David. My heart was full of doubts and uneasiness, but I decided to stay put for the time being. On the one hand, I didn't have solid proof that Lucy and David were really having an illicit relationship. On the other hand, I was afraid that the truth might completely destroy our marriage. I didn't want to believe that my beloved wife would betray our relationship, but I knew I couldn't just turn a blind eye. I needed more evidence to confirm my suspicions. I began to plan how to get hold of hard evidence against Lucy and David. I knew it might take some time and effort, but I was determined to get to the bottom of it. Whatever the truth is, I have to face it. I can't lie to myself anymore, even if the truth might kill me. I have to find an answer for our marriage, for myself. The next few days were not going to be easy, but I was prepared for any outcome that might come my way. I was going to take every opportunity to pick up on Lucy and David's trail. After I started to gather evidence of a possible illicit relationship between Lucy and David, I decided to seek the help of my close friends Jackie and Nico. They have always been my most trusted friends and have always given me the most honest advice and support, both at work and in life. When I told them about Lucy's suspicious behavior, they didn't hesitate to help me find out the truth. The three of us made a secret investigation plan. First, based on my previous observations and tracking, we made a list of places where Lucy and David might meet, including David's usual hotel, a secluded apartment, and a cafe where they often met. We decided to install hidden cameras and recording devices at these locations to monitor their movements around the clock. In order not to arouse Lucy's suspicion, I lied that I was going on a week-long business trip, but in fact I was starting our covert operation with Jackie and Nico. We installed miniature cameras in David's hotel and apartment, disguised as smoke alarms and TV receivers, making them virtually undetectable. We also placed recording devices under the tables in the cafe to capture their conversations. Over the next few days, we took turns monitoring the video and audio feeds. At first, we didn't notice anything unusual, and their conversations at the cafe seemed to center around the script and the shoot. But on the night of the fourth day, we caught the key piece of evidence. At around 11 p.m. that night, cameras caught Lucy at the hotel where David was staying and entering his room. What's more disturbing to me is that she didn't leave until the next morning. The recording device also captured their intimate conversations and ambiguous sounds in the room. Faced with this evidence, I found it hard to believe that Lucy had really cheated on me in this way. But I didn't want to stop there. To gather more solid evidence, we decided to install a GPS tracker on Lucy's car to keep track of her real-time movements. At the same time, we placed a remote camera on a tree near David's house to monitor his residence 24 hours a day. In the following week, we filmed Lucy going to and from David's apartment several times, sometimes even spending the night there, and the GPS tracking showed that Lucy always took a long way around when she went to David's house, seemingly trying to avoid a possible stalker. Even after I pretended to return from a business trip, Lucy became more cautious, but still couldn't escape our surveillance. After we gathered a lot of video, audio, and GPS evidence, I couldn't lie to myself any longer. Lucy and David were having an incestuous affair behind my back, and the brutal truth was right in front of me. The intimate images and explicit conversations burned me to the core. All my love and trust turned into great despair and anger at that moment. I decided not to confront Lucy for the time being, even though my heart was full of holes. I needed some time to calm down, and I wanted to be fully prepared before the evidence was released to the public. I knew that if I revealed the incestuous relationship, my marriage to Lucy would be irrevocably ended. I had to be prepared for a future without Lucy. At the same time, I was thinking about how to maximize the use of evidence in my hands, not only to make Lucy and David pay for their betrayal, but also to protect my own dignity and rights. After discussing with Jackie and Nico, we decided to publicize all the evidence when Lucy and David were least expecting it, so that they would be embarrassed in public. I have already started preparing for my divorce and have contacted a reputable divorce attorney. With this crucial evidence, I am confident that I will have the upper hand in the divorce proceedings and get a fair outcome. Although I was still bleeding inside, I knew that I had to be strong and face the reality that Lucy and David had to pay for what they had done, and I had to get over the pain and start a new life as soon as possible. This marriage had left me with so many wounds that it was time to put an end to it. I still have a lot of preparations to make before the final plan of revenge can be carried out. But with Jackie and Nico's help, I'm sure everything will go according to plan. The hidden evidence will become the most powerful weapon in my hands against Lucy and David's betrayal. I knew that this revenge would not be pleasant for me, but I had no choice. I had to do it, for my own sake and for the sake of our marriage and love. I'll make them realize how heavy the price of betrayal is. After gathering a lot of evidence of Lucy and David's incestuous relationship, I knew it was time for a final act of revenge. Jackie, Nico, and I decided to reveal the truth at the premiere of a movie starring Lucy. The movie was very important to both Lucy and David, and I believed that exposing their betrayal in such a public forum would be devastating to them. In order to carry out this plan, we made a lot of preparations. First of all, we carefully edited the secretly filmed videos and recordings, and selected the most convincing and impactful clips. We also chose a few photos of Lucy and David in hotels and apartments to accompany the video. The video is 15 minutes long, which is long enough for everyone in the room to understand what happened. Secondly, we formulated a detailed plan of action. We decided to cut off the power supply to the theater after the movie was over, when the audience was about to leave, and then activate our own projection equipment to play the video revealing the truth. To ensure that we would not be discovered in advance, we installed the equipment in the theater's projection room a day in advance and disguised ourselves as maintenance workers. On the day of the premiere, everything went according to plan. As Lucy and David are applauded by the audience and interviewed by the press on stage, they are beaming with triumph and pride, completely unaware of what is about to happen. When the screening ended and the audience was about to leave, Jackie pressed the button to cut the power and the theater was plunged into darkness. At that moment, I activated our projection equipment and the scandalous video of Lucy and David appeared on the big screen. At first, the audience thought it was an egg or an outtake from the movie, but when they saw Lucy and David kissing in a hotel and spending the night in an apartment, the theater erupted in gasps and murmurs. Lucy and David don't react to what's happening at first, but when they see themselves in the video, their faces instantly turn pale. Lucy panics and tries to stop the screening, but it's too late. Lucy panicked and tried to stop the screening, but it was too late. As the video played, their incestuous relationship was exposed to everyone. When the video was shown, the theater erupted in an uproar. The audience was in an uproar. The press swarmed around Lucy and David. Lucy broke down and cried, and David angrily rushed to the screening room to try to find out who was behind it. But we had already left, so they had no way of knowing who had revealed the truth. In the midst of all this chaos, I slowly walked towards Lucy and took out the divorce papers I had prepared in advance. I calmly told her that I already know everything. Our marriage is over. Lucy cried and begged me for forgiveness, said she knew she was wrong, and begged me to give her a chance to start over. But I had already made up my mind that I wouldn't believe any of her promises. I left the theater, leaving Lucy and the reporters behind. When I got home, I packed all of Lucy's personal belongings and left them outside the house. I even thoughtfully called a cab in case she had nowhere else to go. When Lucy came home and saw what she saw, she broke down and cried again. She rapped on my door and begged me to let her in, but I wouldn't budge. In the days that followed, Lucy's scandal made headlines in the media. Her incestuous relationship with David was dug deeper and more details were revealed. The internet was filled with abuse and contempt for Lucy and David, and they became targets overnight. Lucy's acting career was devastated and no director wanted to use her again. David's reputation was tarnished by the scandal, and his new movie went unnoticed. And I, as the victim of this scandal, received public sympathy and support. People condemned Lucy's infidelity and David's impudence, saying that they should pay for their behavior. In the ensuing divorce proceedings, the judge took Lucy's faults into account, and I received a very favorable verdict. After a lengthy divorce proceeding, the court finally ruled in my favor. I was awarded the majority of our joint property. More importantly, I won the return of my dignity and innocence. When the verdict was announced, I felt relieved. The nightmare was finally over, and I could start my life again. To celebrate this victory, I invited Jackie and Nico to my favorite bar to relax. In the bar, we celebrated and toasted the victory. I expressed my sincerest gratitude to them, and I can't imagine how I would have gotten through this difficult time without their help and support. They are the most valuable asset in my life, and I feel very lucky to have such friends. On the TV in the bar, I saw Lucy being interviewed by the media outside the courthouse. She appeared to be in a state of distress as she was questioned by the press. She tried to defend herself, claiming that she was a victim of love and that David had seduced her. But no one believed her. Everyone thought she was an unfaithful woman who betrayed our marriage. Seeing this scene, I did not feel too much pleasure. I used to love the woman so much, now fallen into such a state. I feel a little sad. But I know this is her own choice. She must be responsible for her own behavior. I can no longer pay for her mistakes. Over the next few days, I began to reorganize my life. I quit my old job and took a higher position in a new production company. I bought a new apartment and started living alone. At first, it was a bit uncomfortable to live alone, but I gradually found my rhythm. I started to try new hobbies, go to the gym, and participate in social activities to meet new people. My life slowly became more and more fulfilling. Of course, the pain doesn't just go away. Sometimes I still think of Lucy and the good times we had. But I don't dwell on the past anymore, because I know that it's a piece of history that can't be turned back. I choose to look forward and embrace the possibilities of the future. Gradually, I found myself becoming more mature and stronger. I learned how to face life's setbacks and how to deal with difficulties independently. I realized that true happiness does not lie in having a perfect relationship, but in becoming a better version of myself. This painful experience has become a catalyst for my growth. Today, I am sharing this story because I want to give some inspiration to those who are going through a similar situation. I want to tell them that no matter how painful it is, don't lose hope. Life will always give you unexpected surprises. The key is to learn to let go, and then bravely go to start a new life. Remember, you are not alone. There will always be someone to love you and support you. Believe in yourself. You will be able to get through it and usher in your own bright future. Thank you for taking the time to listen to today's story. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe if you haven't already. If you have a story to share about your own or someone else's experience, please feel free to contact me. Take care.